So the second part, we have more time to look a little bit in more depth about the context of the practice itself, and we may also look a little bit deeper into the kind of projects that we have been developing. So imagine you are one of those selected artists or designers or architects coming to V2. Where are you going to? Well, as you might know, the Netherlands is a small, heavily populated piece of land with about 16 million people in a piece of land of about 150 by 200 kilometers. It is generally seen as a country in which every square centimeter has been thought of twice and has been designed twice. There's no piece of land that you will find that has not been touched by the designers in the Netherlands. And if you look at Dutch society, if you look at the cities, you can see that this design aspect is very strongly present. You can see it in urban planning, you can see it in the agricultural strategies, because Holland has been traditionally a very agricultural country. You can see it in the water management of the Dutch, because we are below sea level and still surviving. You can see it in the social welfare status we have. It's everywhere. And in fact, Dutch society is probably one of the most rationalized societies you can think of. It's extremely well expressed, actually, this rationalization of society in the agricultural industry over the last 40 years. I remember when I was a small kid, I was living on the countryside, and the farmers were still with a horse and a carriage going to the factory. Can you imagine that in the Netherlands? Like, young kids have no clue anymore because it's only 40, 50 years ago. Nowadays, they have a beautiful, fast car, computer under their cowl, and they're high-tech sector. So food production in the Netherlands was a big issue. First of all, to have enough food for 60 million people on a small piece of land, and secondly, because it became one of the export products. So the rationalization of that became very tough. So, let's talk about big cities. Food production on a small piece of land for a maximum amount of people got realized through technological innovation. But besides solving a problem, it also raised specific new problems for the environment, as well as ethical questions. In this case, what you see here, talk about cattle breeding, meat needed by the 60 million people who live in the country, and how to do that, because they populate the countryside already. So where should the cows and the pigs be? So Pig City is a project that I'm going to show you shortly by a Dutch architect's office, RDMDV. It's a world famous architect's office. We have the software department, the building department, and they are very creative in finding solutions. This is typical for Dutch small architect's offices because we have a maximum of regulations. And if you want to be creative with a maximum of regulations, you have to be very clever. And software and technology can help with that. So, the question raised by this architect's office is how can we breed enough cattle without having very bad living conditions, ethical problems in dealing with the animals. And secondly, how can the pollution created by all the cattle breeding be solved? Because in the past, they threw it on the land, the farmers, of course, and if you have too much of that, you get a sour acid in the air, your soil is spoiled, you can't benefit anymore. So they came up with a suggestion of why wouldn't we make some kind of organic farming, that's what people would like, and solve the ethical question by building a skyscraper for pigs instead of humans. So, I'm going to show you, first is I'm going to show you a short video. The video is just numbers. It shows you if you have maximum rationalized food production, in fact, just talk about numbers. How much can you produce with a maximum efficiency and as little, what do you call that, pollution numbers, ethical issues at stake. It gives you a rather twisted image of reality. about?
South in the Berlage and Suffering area, requiring 640 metres squared. 14 cells are in the Eros Centre, requiring 80 metres squared, and 184 cells occupy the waiting area. The total for all of this is 960 metres squared. The boar lives for 32 months at the Genetics Centre. After 8 months, the boar's sperm is fertile and can artificially inseminate 304 cells per year. After suckling, the sucklers become piglets for 35 days. The piglets live in groups of 100 piglets, requiring in total 700 metres squared or 7 stables. 640 metres squared of truffle and oak tree balconies are added, providing the pigs 2 hours of foraging time per day. The grand total of space needed per farm floor is 9,948 metres squared. To sufficiently supply the slaughterhouse per year, 247,000 porkers are needed. The yearly amount divided by 6,240 porkers per farm floor indicates that 40 farms are needed annually. By stacking these farms as separate floors on top of the slaughterhouse, the transport can be concentrated within lifts. These lifts present diseases from being spread. This transport is efficient and relatively comfortable, preventing pigs from falling over each other, which is common in truck transportation. Every porker consumes 280 kilos of food during its life. Per year, 80,000 tonnes of food are consumed in the pig tower, equaling 220 tonnes per day. The current intensive food...
So these are the problems that society is facing. I would say sky's the limit somehow in designing our countryside. Recently, about a few months ago, a group of entrepreneurs in the Netherlands said, Holland is so flat, what we need is a mountain. So they came up with the idea to construct a mountain in front of the coast of the Netherlands, about 1 kilometer high, where you can go and ski in summertime, you can lie on the beach in summertime, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get it done. It's a very typical Dutch approach. This is where you will go to if you go to the Netherlands. So, technology has been developed within a world model where we thought we could control each individual object and atom in that world. Our methodology of achieving this goal was based on looking at the world in an abstract, rationalized, and reductionist way. We thought that if we isolate the atom is quite abstract understanding of reality. If we can control the atom, we can control matter. This belief was informed by the vision that technology as a tool of reduction, controllability, perfection, and purifying nature even, from a state of randomness into a state of cleanness, that technology could do that. We took the world apart, actually, in modern science. We took it in small elements. We understood all the small elements, but what we forgot was the relation between all these small elements. We get an abstract experience through science of the real world, how we relate to the world itself. Nowadays, I think that if I look to modern art practices of young artists, you can see that most of them are into relational design issues. They are interested again in rethinking the relations between us, humans and our environments, and try to step away from a human-centric view on that. So try to understand a flower, try to understand an animal, how to design that. Not just modernism, where we come from, was all about purity and the search for abstraction. Also, in our rationalized agriculture, our refined food production, we can see this tendency in reference to the production of white bread, white sugar. Why did we make white bread? Why did we make white sugar? We took all the ingredients out of sugar to make it white. In fact, it's bad in comparison to the normal sugar. We gained incredible knowledge actually from this process of abstraction, of making the world rationalize the world. But we can now see that it also alienated us from our environment and has devastating effects also on the environment, on the climate, on biodiversity, on cultural diversity, and country life in general. In the last decennia, we can see a shift, I would say, from an object-oriented world model into a world model based on relational thinking, based on network principles. A world model existing out of dynamic systems that continuously interact with each other and thus generate structure, whether social structure, or material structure, or biological forms. That's the basis that we are trying to re-understand again. Understanding interaction, and how it transforms the physical world, because I think that's an important aspect. We come from a very virtual world and we try to re-understand the relation between the virtual and the physical world. Has become a major research domain in many practices, not only the arts or design. When we talk about technology-based interaction, or social, or cultural, or biological interaction, we are all getting back to principles. That's why I wrote as a title, today our whole lives, all our decisions, all our concerns about us in the world have become a matter of relational design. So, all of this is the context that you will get in. That's the context of V2, I would say. That's how we motivate ourselves. That's how we drive the motor that we're going through. And that's why so many young people feel attracted by it, because they know in which world they are living. And they are still, we call it designing their practice. They still have opportunities to dive into it. So I'm going to make a bigger step because time is pushing me. So, what is V2 actually doing? Well, here you can see a few photographs of activities we have been doing. Actually, what you see here is a research project we did with the Russian space program. We took 6 artists, dancers. This is a performer from the Spanish group La Fuga de las Baus. It's a performing group to do experiments in zero gravity. So those are the training flights where astronauts are trained to be in zero gravity. And we use that to create conditions to research the body in zero gravity. So the dancers made choreographies for 30 seconds in zero gravity that they could use later on in their performances. And this artist was, we call it, doing performances that he could use also for his performances later. There's many other projects that you can see. This is, I would call that, a short overview of, let's say, the last 20, 25 years. So, what is V2 about? As I said, it's an organization researching and shaping contemporary arts by debate, experiment, presentation, and practice-based research. I think that's a very important aspect when we talk about science. This is much more theory-based often. The arts are much more practice-based in their work. It's about production of V2, and it's about publications. It's a network organization, meaning that all projects are realized in close collaborations with partners in different domains, whether they're from art, design, architecture, or science. So we collaborate, for example, in national innovation projects where public bodies and private bodies work together, do research in an interdisciplinary sense. I would say the arts only have a very small impact on these larger innovations programs, but I think they are still interesting for a range of partners. So V2 is pushing crossover. It's pushing collaborations with architecture, with fashion, design, visual arts, and scientists, but also with other disciplines. We are focused on the experiment and fundamental practice-based research as an important factor for contemporary artistic practices. We do research that reflect and design contemporary social and cultural experiences. And with that, I would like to say that we live in a technological culture. Anything we do nowadays is based on technology. It's shaped through technology, the way we communicate, the way we work. Anything we do more or less has a relation to technology. That means our experiences are based on going through this technology. That means that we have different experience than before. That means that if we want to reflect, we need a an art practice that can reflect these new realities that we are living in. And that's why it's really major important, I think, that these institutions, these attempts also within the arts to connect to these contemporary experiences are supported and can be developed and researched. But it's not easy. Now, let's see. Oh, no, it's going to have 50 minutes. Oh, I thought I was time already, but it's going to 50 minutes. I shortly would like to point out how to position artistic research. So, let's talk about the cultural chain of meaning. It emphasizes sequential consistency between three different sorts of research. The chain makes intelligible how different sorts of research, practiced by different sorts of organizations, relate to and depend on each other. It offers an insight in how to scale up fundamental research. So, you see, form research, I would say that's fundamental research, that's where the arts mostly is. It's cultural experimentation regarding social materials, biological materials, new materials, and technology. No functional outcome is needed for that. It's just playing around, experimenting, looking, see how things work. If you take it one step further, you can say, okay, there is some interesting results, but how can you scale up these results? Then you could say, then you could start contextual research. That means you try to contextualize the research within the arts in a different context, in a social context, in an educational context, in healthcare, quite different. Heritage. That means that the artists who have been working there don't have to do that themselves. They need the partners from these sectors to look and see indeed how can we transfer the knowledge, the results gained and that we got over there, how can we bring it to that sector and scale it up. Then the third one is called, we call that transformation research. This is a sustainable anchoring and scaling up complex research in society at large. So what does it really mean for society at the end? This can be economically, it can be socially. So this chain that we described, we actually did it with a group of organizations in the Netherlands, was meant for policymakers. Because policymakers have a very hard time in understanding what the arts are doing nowadays, especially in the context that we are working. They see all these relations between all these different groups and sectors, and they don't belong anywhere, because policymakers, they have, how do you call it, a classical way of looking at the world, which is still very much category-based, discipline-based. It means they have, within the arts, they say we have visual arts, we have sculpture, we have graphic arts, we have performance arts, and then all of a sudden there is a practice that we are in which all these design practices are horizontally crossed, and even go beyond that. They dive into social material, they dive into scientific materials. So for policymakers, that's difficult because the budgets are, how do you call it, within these columns, and they're not going like this. So that's why it's important also to describe for ourselves and also for policymakers what the practice is that we're looking at. Let me give you some examples, actually. This is about form research. So we have had a series of residencies, residencies for fashion designers, people who are more into technology, and designers in general. We're looking at smart foils, new kind of fabrics, you could say, conductive inks, so you can draw on your body, and the line on your body becomes an electronic circuit, so you can, what do you call that, the electricity can go through it from one point to another, so you can touch another body, and the electricity goes through it, so you can make a circuit through bodies. We did research to conductive fabrics. That means that fabrics where small electronic wires are woven into the fabric, so you can use that for sensor technology, so the code can sensor things around itself, for example. This was research we did with a few universities, because this is research that is not only done in the arts, it's heavily researched in architecture, because architecture is also trying to look for new skins of buildings, new materials they want to use. We're also looking for ways of how interaction can come about, how buildings can become intelligible, how they can detect things in the surroundings. So this form research we did, we tried to scale it up. First of all, in this case, this is kind of complex research. This is how could we use the knowledge. So this was a an artist that wanted to build a game environment, which is a mix of sensor technology and augmented reality, in which he built suits for the audience. So this is a real-time game. This is not a game on the screen. This is a game in space, and in which he mapped the whole space. So he uses complex spaces. You have the bodysuit, you get goggles on, so you don't see through the space. You walk through the space actually through what you see in your goggles. This was a test. This project didn't work really good at the end, but it was very good to do to test it out how it could work. And in the next phase, we came up with a few fashion designs, and they became very pragmatic. They said, okay, no, we can make a dress. It's no special dress for clubs or whatever, where we can bring this research into a dress. This was done by Adriaansens that I showed you before. This is a small video where you can see how it works. So you can see the transparency change. This is not a dress, of course, that you normally would wear on the street, but it's a dress that can be very playful, to work on this issue of privacy, and in special settings for exhibitions. This can be an interesting dress. And of course, it's research to come to the next dress, to the real dress. So, for V2, the experiment and doing practice-based research and production is a key focus of our activities. It is our core business for which we develop larger projects for art and culture, as well as social and economic sector, because we once in a while do these economic adventures ourselves, but it's not a core business. As mentioned in the first presentation, our artistic research, practice and theory-based, is structured around three research areas that I showed you in the beginning. The wearables technology that you saw with the augmented reality research area, and the ecology area. So here you can see a range of workshops, how we work. So we set up workshops, we have master classes where we bring all kinds of people from universities, artists, designers together to talk about the work they are on, to see if they can find a common objective to work on. And what I'm going to show you in the left corner is a very nice kind of humoristic video on augmented reality, because augmented reality, of course, is one of the imaginations that we can have. So what can augmented reality be? It can have many purposes. It can be in education, it can be in industry, it can be within artistic practices. And this, I think, is a very nice one. It's a scary one as well, because it shows you that you can be in a world which is full of information that's constantly around you, where you have to act upon. The world of tomorrow. So here we go online.
You're doing great.
So this might seem far-fetched, but maybe it's not as far-fetched as you think it is. But it shows you a reality which you're completely, fully immersed all the time in an information environment, that you are present all the time. It means your privacy is already within this environment. Everybody knows what you do and what is there, where you are. So it's an interesting video. It poses many questions in a very playful way. Good. The test labs, because this is where you might get into, as I said before, the presentation and presenting the work you have been doing at V2. If you come at V2, there's a team that will ask you to write a very clear plan based on the knowledge and the people who are working at V2. So we have hardware designers, we have software designers, we have interface designers, and we have a project manager on top of it. It means you have to describe from the information you will get how you think you would like to work with these persons and these people, and what the outcome would be. Of course, what happens is that every week you have a meeting with the project leader who will talk with you about the results, where you're going at, maybe to redirect the issues, and maybe take another direction, or try this or try that, to guide you as much as possible, and to keep you in interaction with the team you're working. That means you have to be able to work in a team, very important team. It also means you have to be able to communicate. That means you have to speak English. Dutch is not necessary, because within V2 everybody talks English. That's we call it the communication within the team, because most half performers as well. So English should be very clear that you should be able to talk. So the test labs we have every 1.5 to 2 months. They're very popular. There's about 100 to 120 young students from all kinds of sectors meeting there, looking at the informal presentations, because you go from place to place. Actually, you're going to test things out. You have to wear them for 3 minutes, okay? And then you can, how do you call that, see what kind of interesting knowledge or information that you could use again yourself. You can network there, make friends. Because that was one of the results of the outcome. We did a research questionnaire to 22 arts and residencies to ask what they gained from the residency at V2. First of all, most of them got very well internationally connected. Most of them got about 7 presentations within 1 year about their work in the world outside, which was a lot. They are still in contact with the people they have been working with. So the results were very positive and gives a good idea indeed. So what's the spin-off that's generated for the artists working in our lab? So I'm going to very shortly show you this point. I'll first show it, and then say what it is. performance, immersive theater performance, developed by a range of organizations in Europe. It's over, but I'll finish the sentence, it's okay. It was an immersive theater performance where the people you saw was the audience. There were no theater players in that piece. The audience were the performers themselves. They went through, how to call it, the narrative. This was emphasized through immersive media, by touching your body, by getting images, by twisting or turning your body around. It's created a very strong experience, actually. It was based on the narrative of the expedition to the South Pole that nobody survived from in the way they did it. Unfortunately, time is over. There's some interesting projects I wanted to show about urban planning as well, related to China, but you can do that later. It's still showing things. I hope it gives you a little bit of an idea where you're going. Hope to see you there. Thank you.